Hi everybody. As you might have surmised, being quick on your feet, we are not on the deck of the Blue Nose here today. We're at Old Town Boatworks, our shipyard of choice here in Lunenburg. With tremendous depth of knowledge. I'm here with Paul Basket, proprietor, shipwright,
yes,
wizard of the waterfront. We're going to talk in just a second about our new bowsprit. And just want to talk briefly just at why we're having a new bowsprit, and that we deal with problems that historically were never problems on schooners. Like Nova Scotia schooner had a life expectancy of 10 or 15 years. And so when you have a piece of wood that's 20, 25, 30 years old, then you're going to start to get degradation in that. So with a regulatory overlay and a modern times overlay, we have to look at replacing parts of the ship that may never have been replaced, barring an unfortunate docking. Yes. Anyway, Paul, you're building us a new bowsprit.
we are. This is the beginnings of the new bowsprit, which is, bowsprit is a round spar. It's a weirdly shaped round spar, but we start out with a giant square and then make it round. So we're in the second last piece of making the big 40-foot long square. And this is laminated out of Douglas fir. The timber came from British Columbia, and we're lucky to find some really high quality timber. The pieces are about 40 feet long. Wow. And we scarf them together. This is what a scarf looks like, a long joint. It's glued with epoxy, and over that length, that joint is about as strong as the wood itself.
Wow.
So
I always find it really interesting, and you're talking about Douglas fir coming from British Columbia, is that the masts for the original boat in the 1920s came by train.
wow.
Douglas fir from British Columbia came by train across the country. So this is bringing BC fir in. It's not anything new to the waterfront.
Yeah, interesting. And it would be the wood of choice for spars like this. And the only other equivalent would be like Sitka spruce from Russia. But this is Canadian timber, so it makes sense. And obviously it's part of a traditional passage for trees from the West Coast.
Yes.
Yeah.
And certainly lovely as a sailing an icon to know that there's parts of the whole country attached to the ship.
The guys call this sort of a wedding cake. So this is the last slice of cake that's going to get glued on top. But you can see each slice is made up of 3 40-foot long pieces, and the joints are all sort of staggered. But this is much stronger than a tree that's shaped round.
Yes.
And the longevity would be a lot longer because there's going to be no checking where water can get in and cause problems. The spar we're replacing is also laminated, but obviously is about 30 years old and is in okay shape, but as you've explained, the bowsprit's quite important in holding everything together.
So obviously there's been some math going on as to where to put your glue joints.
Absolutely.
And where to put your scarves along the length of it.
But it's as simple as making a brick wall. You're just staggering the joints, but the integrity of this piece when it's all glued together is pretty strong.
Yeah. And I suppose having a facility here on the waterfront where you can have a 50-foot yacht,
Yep.
you can have a 30-foot bowsprit, and that means you need to mill those 40-foot pieces. So you have to have a space like this that's big enough to be here.
That's right.
To do this type of work.
Yeah. And the challenge for this type of work is you can't be in an industrial park somewhere else, because you'd have to have huge complications with moving something this big down the road.
Yes.
So to do our work, we need to be on the water's edge. And that's what the working waterfront of Lunenburg is about, is protecting these industries.
We've discussed in the past, things on the ship are in scale. So the bowsprit is just a bowsprit until it's slung out in a crane, and you go, that's a big piece of timber, and then you come in here and it's filling up your space, and then you crane a 50-foot yacht into here, and it's incredible.
Yeah, we find that there's even stanchions or small pieces of the ship taken out of context, they look massive. So it's like Gulliver's Travels, but it's a testament to the design that everything on the Blue Nose looks right. It's a beautiful design.
Yes.
But it's massive. Yes. And we forget when we work on the ship how big it is until we bring a piece from the ship into the shop. And it's a massive ship.
Yeah. Yeah. So you talked a bit about the strength of the bowsprit. Is that it's got to be able to withstand a gentle-ish bump on the dock.
Yes.
If I make the mistake. But it also, that's the compression post for the entire rig. So the head stays come down out to the end of the bowsprit and then go back in to the stem of the ship. So it's that compression post that holds up the masts. And if that fails, then probably you're going to have a massive rig failure, or a gravity storm, as sometimes it's referred to. So this is an important piece of the rig puzzle on Blue Nose too.
Yeah, and we think about what's the worst, biggest loading on it. Presumably the ship digs into a wave and there's this compression that comes when it comes out of it, or depending on which part of the rig. Your backstay, when the bow rigs, you know, that's going to be a lot. And this, when you lift out of a wave, there must be huge loads on it that are a little terrifying. So
Yes.
it's,
Yes. They're certainly terrifying to live through.
yeah,
There you go. So, one more piece of the wedding cake to go on.
that's right. Yep.
Maybe you'll see a little statue of Paul on the top of that one. And
Hopefully, yeah, with a few pins in it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when we come back, we'll start to talk about the rounding process and how that it's not round. It looks like just a round pole sticking out of the front of the ship, but it's far from that.
Yeah.
There's flat places and sort of larger places and where it tapers out. And
Yeah, it's quite weird shape. Yeah,
and we'll have a look at some of the ironwork eventually that was made here in Lunenburg.
Cool.
At the old blacksmith shop. So lots to see coming up in the future, and thank you for joining us today.